Hey guys, we are at the Hero office in Vienna, and today we have a special guest and a dear friend of mine, Alexander. Alexander, can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Alex, also known as Kakafu, and I was former head coach of Team Big, and right now I'm more of an assistant coach slash analyst.
So, how do you feel today, Alex?
I'm feeling great. I mean, it's a little bit cold here outside,
It's really cold,
but it's really nice
but
to be
it's
here.
totally fine, I guess. So, first of all, I would go back in time when we still played 1.6, and if I say 2011, what comes into your mind?
I mean, 2011 we played the qualifier for the Intellect Stream Masters, a really big
right.
tournament back in the days, and we qualified and could go to the online group stage. And I think the best two in each group went to the offline event, like the big event. We couldn't make it, unfortunately, but I think we had a
Yeah.
good run there.
Do you remember how the qualifier looked like? How hard it was to get? I mean, back then in the days, it was like the biggest online tournament, the Intel Extreme Master. So, how hard was it to qualify?
It wasn't that hard for us, I would say, maybe for other countries too, because we had like a Champions League system, and like the best team in Austria came to like a qualifier. We only had to win 2 matches, and then we were like in the big group stage, so it was a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's totally insane how hard it is nowadays to qualify for even tier 3, tier 2 tournaments compared to back in the days. So what I would like to talk about now is your journey to reaching the major, your first major with Big. So where did you start? Did you get invited, or which was the first step to take?
The first step was basically an open qualifier. So you had to play an open qualifier to just qualify for the qualification for the first minor. So the overall system is that you have to play the minor, then the offline qualifier, and then the major itself. But before you come into the minor, you have to play 2 qualifiers to even get to the minor. So it's a big qualifying stage, and it's like really hard to get there. So you have to win, I think, 27 matches, something around that.
How many teams were in the open qualifier?
In open qualifier was like 512 teams, and I think there were like 4 open qualifiers, so it's a really big stage there. Yeah.
And how did you prepare for that? I
For-
mean, there is such a big pool of teams, so you obviously can't especially prepare for any opponent. So what was your strategic, like banning maps, your map pool, and so on?
Playing against the field is something different. So if you play against the field, you just have to be really good. Like you just have to play your own game. You don't prepare that much for the enemy. You just have to basically dominate the lower tier teams to just qualify. And the moment you go through the open qualifier or you pass the open qualifier, you just can prepare again, because then there are like tier 2, tier 3 teams that you already know.
So is there a difference, a psychological difference, knowing that you're just gonna play a best of one, and if you lose, you're out? And what is there any tactic that you use? I don't know, aiming for a specific map, or I don't know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you always try to aim for your best map if you get it. But there's no special tactics in best of one, like open
And
qualifiers.
what about the tactics in game? Like, do you prefer to do more default so you get to know the opponent, or do you prefer set goes? I don't know.
Yeah,
as terrorist.
it's more default. So it's more default, more like how is the enemy overall? Are they even like good enough? Do they know how to counter defaults? But because if you can play your default all the time, it's really easy to win a match. But if you're a good team, you can do both on the fly, and then you can adapt really good.
And how hard is it to adapt on the fly and to understand the opponent's game when you're playing?
It's really hard. You have to be very experienced. You have to see a lot of stuff, and then you have to adapt in game. Not many in-game leaders can do that very well. That's why we have only not only, but we have like around, I don't know, 20, 30 really good teams that can do that, and they're like on the top.
And so, I guess that's your role as a coach to help GOP do that. How hard is it to? I mean, when you play online, you're in front of your PCs and you have the POV of all the players. But talking about LAN tournaments, when you're behind the 5 players and you have to watch 5 different monitors, you have to run around. How hard is it to focus and to understand what actually is happening in game and be able to contribute and give input?
It's way harder than online. I would say. It's hard to see what is happening. That's why you have to really focus on the in-game communication, because you're always in the TeamSpeak or in the voice with them, so you can hear what the players say, and then you have to like filter out all the important information and be like on the right guy when something happens. And you cannot be like 100% sure what is going on all the time, but sometimes you get like a glimpse of something, and then you can help, or you can figure out the calling combination, like what did the enemy do this round, what did we do the other round, and then you combine it to like a new strat.
Okay. And if you try to help your team, if you give input and it totally goes backwards, if it totally fails, how do you feel, or I don't know, how do you handle it?
Of course, it's like a big disappointment, because as a coach offline you don't get a lot of chances, because you only have like 4 timers where you can actually talk. So I think on what my role was more, how I defined my role was more about the preparation than like the in-game helping, because Gopi, the in-game leader of our team, was already doing a really good job of adapting in-game. So when I did the miscalled, of course that happened, and we already like lost rounds, but we also won rounds. It's of course disappointed. I'm disappointed, but it's really hard to hit like. If you can talk, you have to hit like the right strat and the right round, and then you have to win it, because sometimes you call the right strat and then you lose it.
Yeah, because of individual fails.
Yeah, of course. Like or like the enemy was really good prepared for that. So yeah, it's hard to deal with that, but you have to refocus again, do your best, and just keep going.
How hard is it for you as a coach, knowing that you can give input, but you can contribute anything in game, like by doing headshots by your own? So you just have to hope that, I don't know, Tapson or Nex go insane and kill everyone. So you basically wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean it's that's a coach life, I guess. I mean I think it's in all the sports it's the same, and the players are like way more skilled than I am. So their mechanics and how they use their mouse and the mouse eye coordination, like eyes hand coordination, it's better. So they can do a really good job, and I just like help them.
You claim to be a pretty good aimer.
Maybe.
Any comments?
No comments on that.
No comments.
I never heard that.
Old man. Okay. Okay, let's talk about your first major. So let's skip the whole process of qualifying. We all know that it was very hard. So you are a totally new team at a major. So you see all these teams that you have been watching online. What's the feeling, like the personal feeling of as an esports fan or a CS fan?
I mean, the moment we qualified for the major itself, it just felt that everything I did before that in esports really paid off. So that was like really saying, okay, right now I actually reached like some kind of goal in esports, and it was a really cool feeling. And just meeting the people, it was pretty normal. I mean, everybody's like really like down to earth. Nobody's really arrogant or something.
Really, nobody.
I mean, nobody that we really met. I mean, even from the higher tier teams, so like it's basically really cool guys, just like gamer, like all the others, and they just want to have fun in the end. So yeah, that was the first experience for the major.
Who were the first teams or the first players you talked with?
The first players we
or
talked
the first
with,
friends you made.
First friends was basically the Cloud9 players, because Gob, Tapson, and Lege were playing in NA, and they already know them, so they were a little bit hanging out with us. And yeah, I mean these guys were the first that we met, and then back some others came. I mean, Olaf was sometimes there, Rain was sometimes there too. But yeah, but it's like it's more a little bit of like chit chats here and there, but nothing that you say, okay, you hang out or like you go to after parties and be like all the time with them. It's more like casual talking.
So there is no big rivalry. I mean, you all compete. You can win a huge prize money. So. Everything is just fine and friendly.
Not that much. I mean, there are some teams that other teams don't like, and then you don't hang out, and then you only like give the handshake and say hello, but you don't really like talk to them. It's I mean, there are some teams, but it's like only maybe 2 or 3 teams that are not very liked.
Probably when a team gets kicked out of the tournament when they lose, maybe the mood is getting worse.
Yeah, it's a little bit getting worse, but it really depends on the team. It really depends on the team.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is your preparation into the major. After you knew that you're qualified, I think FaZe was your first opponent. How do you prepare to play against FaZe? What is the first step to do? Map pool, or try to understand the default, try to counter some set goals you can identify, or
Yeah, I mean the first thing we did was figuring out what map is gonna play out the most, and figure out that many teams were going for the Inferno pick, and everybody was really confident on Inferno. So we knew that if we want it to be one of the chosen maps, it will be that map. So we know what map we're gonna go in, and they thought that they're gonna be the favorite.
So basically, you knew that you're gonna play Inferno against FaZe.
Correct. Yeah. So we knew that already 2 weeks ago, and we already started practicing that special map, and we already practiced a kind of way how they played. So we practiced against their way. So we didn't practice against our opponents. We practiced against the FaZe way. And how we prepared for that? We watched a lot of demos. We saw how they take control of certain areas, and how we counter that certain control of the areas, and like overall like the strats when they play and so on.
Did you watch the demos as a team, or did just GOP watch them? Did you watch them with GOP?
Overall, it was more me and Gob watched the demos, so we were watching overall the demos from them, and then we gave the input to the players. But it's also important that the players see like 1 or 2 demos of the enemy team, so they get the feeling of their own. But like the most work me and Gob put into the analyzing.
So there is you and there is Gob watching a demo, and obviously everybody has an opinion and sees some counters or some ways how to handle it. What happens if your opinion is different than Gob's? Who is the like the stronger, or I don't know?
Yeah, I mean there was a pit fight in the end.
Yeah.
No. In our team, it was more that of course Gob was the leading guy. So in the end, his decision or his opinion how we should like run a strat or run a practice was his idea. So I was more of an helping guy. So me and him were sat down and we just discussed, and I put in my input, and he said, okay, but Alex, let me see what if this happens, what if that happens, and I just like try to help him find the way, because we all trust in Gob, and I think he has like more experience, and I think he's a really good in-game leader. So I basically helped him to find the way.
So so you're like his assistant?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Nice.
Yeah, I cannot deny that. Yeah. So I was more
nice.
of his assistant.
Okay. And if you try to counter certain moves, so for example, I think in FaZe it was Rain who always jumped into CPL. So for example, there is Keith in the middle with an AWP, and you say, hey Keith, this could be a counter move to the way Rain plays, and he doesn't feel confident doing that or countering in that way. So basically what I'm trying to ask you, how do you handle if you know that there is a very good counter for certain moves, but the players don't feel confident, it doesn't suit their play style. How do you handle it, or what do you do then?
I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, if there's like a hard counter where you say it's 100% that it's gonna work, then he has to do it. But if I mean, every player on that level knows what he can do and how much risk it takes to like do and counter moves, because it's always taking a risk too. Because if the enemy plays a really good default, it's really hard to even counter his default. So doing aggressive moves or like moves overall on the enemy, there are still chances that you fail. So if the confidence isn't there, basically he should not do that. So the confidence is everything basically. So if he says, man, I feel way more confident if I let him come and I don't go to him, I will play different way. So I'm what I did was, it's like basically giving the players help and saying, I was like, okay,
or giving them different
options.
choices.
Yeah, different choices. I was like, okay, look, if you want to hard counter this, you have to play this position, and he has to remember that and use it in game as it like feels, because the flow of the game is like always different. So because sometimes I also know the counter, but I'm like, but in this round I don't want to counter because I think something else will maybe happen.
So is there a difference between the big players who is more capable of acknowledging these counters or fulfilling them in game? Even remembering them, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it easier to work with Tapson, for example, than with Nex?
I think it's I don't want to comment on that much. Not that much. No, but I think like people in the scene know that Tabson is a really high and talented player, and I think if you tell Tabson a counter and the counter like he approves himself on the counter, he will use it on very effectively, and it's about how effectively you use the counter, and of course Tabson is like one of the I think like one of the best players in the world to even do that. But all the players in Big were really good, and because the way we practiced like for the major was very efficient, and I think everybody knew the counter to the enemy, and that's what made us so good.
Okay, and do you want to comment the so-called big buck?
The big buck.
The big buck.
The Buck clan. Yeah, of course. I mean, we. I think Gob and so on like found the bug years ago, even when
nobody cared.
Yeah, nobody cared. He found the bug years ago in America, and we came back. We used the bug all the time, but basically all the players used the bug, but they couldn't recreate the bug. That was like
the mechanics.
Yeah, like the
okay.
mechanics. So they used it, but they didn't know they used it. So in the demos, if you watch like all the demos, they used it without the step, but they couldn't recreate it, and they didn't know how it worked. So the moment we understood how it worked, we used it on certain positions. And I think then we came to the offline qualifier. I think it was a game against Immortals. It was streamed, a lot of people watched it, and we used the bug. We won the game, nobody complained, everybody saw the bug. And the moment we came to the major and used the bug in the first match, suddenly everything like went down and everybody was flaming. But yeah, in the end, we decided to not use it. There was a gentleman's agreement in the last match against SK, and we didn't use it, and we still won. So, yeah.
Do you see more of an explosion of the game mechanics, or abusing or having an unfair advantage?
I don't think it was unfair
because
advantage.
For me, I mean, this bug was obviously so long in the game, but nobody found it and nobody managed to use it. So for me, it's like a genius move to be able to find new mechanics in the game that obviously is out there for such a long time, and I don't see it like an unfair advantage. I see it like a great move.
Yeah, since everybody can use it and everybody was basically know that something like this was in the game, I think the same. It's just about who puts like more hours in the game and who really is trying to figure out the game. Because if you remember in 1.6, it was like the Russian dog. It was the bug edge that we like sitting down. So it was like all the mechanics in game were like used for an in-game advantage, and everybody could use it. It was just about who puts more time in and who has a more creative mind, and I have the same opinion as you.
Okay, and did you expect that there is gonna be such a huge shitstorm towards you guys?
I did.
Some of the comments were really offensive.
Yeah, we got a lot of hate.
It was more than hate.
We didn't expect it because in the offline qualifier also nobody really cared. So we were like, okay, nobody cared in the offline qualifier, so why should anybody care now? And yeah, suddenly everybody cared because it was a major. And yeah, we didn't expect it. We kind of knew that somebody would probably tell us, hey, what you guys are doing, but we didn't know it was like such a huge thing for them.
Okay, so you're at the major, you go 3-0 in the group stage. After that, you lost against Immortals, right? I totally knew that. And you go home, you're like the heroes, brand new team, first time major, 3-0 together with Immortals in the group stage. Who was the second team who 3-0'd? It was you
Gambit.
Gambit, I also knew that. You come home and you're like the heroes, confident, full of confidence, happy, I guess.
Not that happy. I think we could have made a deeper run, but yeah, pretty.
So
happy.
you were still disappointed that you didn't manage to get further in the tournament?
Yes, of course, yeah. Because we actually before the tournament we thought we were gonna go into the finals.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, because like the practice, everything was like going forward. And I think if people watched the big documentation about the major, after we won the game, we said that we're gonna win this tournament or even go to the finals.
Okay.
But yeah, we were a little bit disappointed because we threw the game against Immortals. I think quarterfinals was in there, but yeah, it happened. But we were still, as you said, really happy that we managed to go all the way because the qualifying stage was really hard.
Okay. Still, you come home, you're a little bit sad, but still full of
Yeah,
confidence,
yeah. I
and
got
so on. You start playing online games again, and you start losing matches that you shouldn't. Kind of start failing. How is, how do you deal with it, like psychologically? Do you start, I don't know, how do you deal with that?
It's really hard to deal with that kind of stuff because in CS it's always hard to lose against an opponent that you think that they're gonna win, and if you keep losing and like keep not showing results, it's really hard to figure out the mistakes. So how we handled it was we kept on trying to fix the mistakes. We go through like all our demos. We watched it. We said, what can we change? Is it a system fail? Is it a player fail? Yeah. So basically, it's not much thinking about the loss itself. It's more thinking about how we can improve. And I think that's the great thing about this team is that we always try to improve. But mentally, you don't really do much. You just like try to calm like the players down. Said we're gonna work harder. Maybe take some days off. Practice maybe more. All this kind of stuff.
So you never started like questioning yourself? Maybe was it really the bug? Did we really go that far because of the bug?
No.
Was it just luck?
No, it wasn't the bug. I think everybody saw that. We basically the bug was only like on one map on Inferno. On all the other maps, it was not such a huge thing. And we played against Immortals where we was really close, against SK and all the qualifying stage. We really didn't use it. So it wasn't that, and we didn't like completely lose all the games in the.
that's totally not what I meant.
We didn't lose all the matches. It was like some
fan question.
Yeah, it was just some bad results. But mentally you just like try to shake it off. It's because we know that we can deliver and yeah.
But obviously you felt like that there needs to be a change within the roster. So recently your as we already talked about, your position within the team changed. You were big head coach. Now you're an analyst. Legia is the new coach of the team.
Correct.
Keith is
benched.
And there is Tizian and Lacker. Why Tizian?
I mean, Tizian was on our radar like for a long time, and I think Tizian proved himself to be a good player and be like one of the best players in Germany, and he's really young. So he had a really good time in alternate attacks, and the moment we made roster changes, we thought that Tizian is a good replacement and we need him, and yeah, that's why Tizian.
And why Lacker?
Lacker was kind of a gamble for us, so nobody from the team really knew Lacker. Our manager made some picked out some players in Germany to show us and see, okay, there are like AWPers out there, because we needed a specific role. So
can you tell me if there like what your choices were? Like, which did you have a pool of players you wanted to test or you wanted to contact? Like for example, I don't know, Crystal, Searson, or
I mean we
Chris
had
J maybe, I don't know.
I mean, of course there were like a lot of names, but I don't want to go into details because it's not good about that because of the other teams and stuff. So we had a lot of players, not a lot of players. That's the thing. So in Germany it's like hard to find a specific role, the op role.
You aimed for German speaking.
Yes, yes. That's a key thing. So we had some thoughts about going international, but we didn't really like it. I think GOP calls better in German, in German, and like the overall communication is always better in your native language. But in the end, our manager just like presented us some names. We tried him. It was okay. He's also a young guy. We need to teach him, and we said, okay, we just go for it, and we try to teach him the game.
So Lens scouted Lacker for you guys. What's the normal process if you want to test out a player, or I don't know who is responsible for that? Or do you think that the manager should take this part?
I mean, basically, I think all of the players are responsible for that. But like the first selection was our manager's job, like Lens, because he's more in the German scene right now. He like watches all the German matches, and he knows who's like like an upcoming talent from the stats wise. And then he says, look guys, there are like some players out there that I watch are really good, and take a look at them, and then like basically we take a look, I took a look, Gob take a look, and then we test them out.
Do you think that it's important that the person who is doing this job at some point was a competitive player or has a certain skill level, or is it totally fine, for example, a person like Lenz who never was like a tier 1 German player or whatever? So
I mean, he wasn't a player, but I think Lenz is like one of the guys who's like in esport like for the longest time, and he saw like all the players, and he has, I mean, even though he's not a good player, he still has a little bit of an understanding of the game and sees, oh, okay, this guy won like some crucial rounds, and that's how he can prepare. But in the end, the choice falls like on the coach and all the players.
And he obviously is a very big guy and always very, very loud on Twitter and very, not aggressive, but you know, always saying what he thinks. What's in general his contribution to the team, his tasks and so on?
I mean,
how does your manager Lenz help you or make your day easier?
I mean, he's a really good manager. So if you think about a manager, he is the manager. He does. I mean, if you're on a travel, he manages all our hotel stuff. If there's like a problem with the tournament, he goes to the admins. If you want food, he brings food. If he makes food for us.
He has also this cooking session. He had a video. Cooking session.
He made like a cooking session and answered some questions. So he's a really good cook too. He basically helps us with everything outside of the game. So if you maybe need
he can totally focus on CS.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you maybe need a visa or something, so he basically does everything outside of the game.
Okay, cool. There will be a esports tournament in Vienna soon called the Esports Festival, which some kind is very similar to the DreamHack. It's a bring your computer tournament, and according to rumors, you're gonna be there as a player.
Yeah, and the rumor says you will also be there as a player.
Haven't heard about that. We're gonna play together?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, who are we gonna play with?
We're gonna play with 2 old guys from back in 1.6, very famous, Gore and Papst, and our 5th guy is also not that young, but he played in Germany PS. Not many know him. It's Amigo, and yeah, we will be at the event and play there and see how far we can make it.
So, what do you think about the 2 old guys, like you called them, the old guys, Gore and Pubs? How hard is it for them to play CS:GO? Obviously, after such a long absence from the competitive scene. I mean, I think Gore is 36 years old.
Yeah.
His peak in CS was 2008, but I mean, he was on a tier 1 level.
I mean, he was in the best team in the world.
Yeah, Mousesports dominated the scene for half a year or something like that. So what are your expectations? Is it more like just go just for fun, or do you want to win?
I want to win. I mean, every LAN I attend, I want to win. I have this drive, so I'm doing everything to win this tournament. And the old guys, they just need like more hours. I mean, right now they have like both, I think, under 1K hours. I think one a little bit more. And you just need to have a lot of time in one game to be good. But they're doing really good for the time that they're playing. So my hopes are really high that we're gonna win.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna play with a manager, a coach. Are you confident that you're gonna give some good headshots?
Yeah, I'm really confident. Since every time I'm coming back to play, I win. So I'm really confident.
Oh, nice. Well, Alex, I think that's all. We're gonna do your fan questions. You posted on Reddit and on Twitter. And before we move towards that, there is a little special thing I prepared for you. Okay. And I want to give you the opportunity to state the next interview partner or the next guy who is gonna be at your position. Oh. So it can be. It will be nice if it's Austrian. So I think it can be an esports person. It doesn't be. It doesn't have to be CS:GO.
I mean, I would say either Gore or Chris K. I mean, Gore from like back in the days. Maybe some people are very interested in his experiences. I think a lot of people still remember him. And Chris K for like the younger guys. So maybe even both. for a
Okay.
double interview and just see like the new perspective and old perspective. I mean, they
Okay.
can maybe have good inputs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. And there is one question I would ask.
Another
No, no, no.
question? You said the last.
A question you can ask them. So just what would you like to ask Chris K and Gore, or just Chris K or Gore?
I think I would ask Gore how they managed to reach that level back in 2006 in 1.6, and I think I would ask Chris K what his goals are or what his drives are to like improve.
Okay. Well, thank you for the interview,
Thank
and
you.
see you at the fan questions.